Right, here you go. Guess what? Labour Mayor Sadiq Khan, London Mayor, is going to be telling EU diplomats Brexit was a mistake and argue for stronger EU ties. Just get lost.
Yeah, pretty much.
Get lost. How dare he do this? He's banged that drum continuously. You have no right. You're the Mayor of London. You're not the blimmin' Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Get back to your ridiculous woke little building on the River Thames. Figure out how to make London transport work. Perhaps figure out how to stop people stabbing each other in broad daylight and looting the high streets. Perhaps figure out how you get rid of all of the vape shops and the Turkish barbers and the American candy stores, which are money laundering units. Perhaps, my friend, you might want to figure out how London stops declining into a developing world hellhole before you decide that Britain should be rejoining the EU, you anti-democratic little twerp. Oh, my eyes were blinking with fury then. I can't get over this, man. And I tell you what he wants. I'll tell you what he wants. He wants that EU youth mobility scheme where under 30s from the bloc can come and live, work and study in the UK. I'll tell you which under 30s want a free passport over to the UK. People that Germany don't want. People that Spain don't want. People that France don't want. Yes. The young men who they'll just flag through and go, here you go, here's a residency.
Yeah, freedom of movement.
Oh, thanks, we'll go to Britain now.
Yep, it is. This man, what's quite interesting for looking at this in a kind of political sense is that it shows that Keir Starmer has no control over the Labour Party. Let's be real, this is about a war between Number 10 and the City Hall.
Proper Napoleon syndrome, doesn't he? He wants control really over everything.
Yeah,
he loves the grandstanding, that little pipsqueak of a bozo.
God. The sooner that man is out of British politics, the better this country will be. Not just for London, but the entire country.
I'm amazed. Like, do you know what? If people who actually were right-wing decided to vote in the London elections, we wouldn't be stuck with that little twerp.
Well, unfortunately, he's making it so that right-wingers just don't want to live here.
Look out the window. It's nasty out there.
In her speech, Alex Phillips delivered a sharp and emotionally charged attack on London Mayor Sadiq Khan, using strikingly harsh and personal language. By bluntly telling Khan to go away, Phillips didn't just disagree with his claim that Brexit was a mistake, she openly dismissed his right to be part of the conversation at all. Her words went far beyond normal political opposition. They were a direct rejection of his legitimacy in national debates. When Phillips asked, "What right do you have to say that?" she was directly challenging what she saw as Khan's arrogance. In her view, someone in his position had no authority to question the result of the Brexit referendum, a decision made by the British people. Her charge that he was a petty anti-democrat marked a clear shift from policy critique to a personal attack. Calling someone an anti-democrat is no small insult. It suggests their actions go against the very democratic values of the UK. And the word petty, while pointing to smallness, was clearly used to cut down his stature, painting him as weak and unworthy of leadership. British politics like this one. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Dark British Believe It, or not over 98% of viewers watch our content without hitting the follow button. Subscribing is completely free. Her remark, "Go back to your little ridiculous woke building," was dripping with contempt. By calling Khan's office ridiculous, she implied his work was meaningless or absurd. Using the word woke, often thrown around to mock progressive ideals, Phillips suggested Khan was out of touch with ordinary people. And by calling his office a little building, she further tried to belittle his role and reduce his influence. Taken together, Phillips's comments went beyond simply disagreeing with Khan's stance on Brexit. They revealed deep disdain for his wider political style. Her speech was not just a political statement, but also a personal rebuke, clearly designed to damage Khan's credibility and present him as unfit for serious public office.
Sadiq Khan as London's Police and Crime Commissioner, and the Metropolitan Police more widely, I'm afraid to say, doing a terrible job at this most basic of functions, the most basic function that police forces have had ever since the time of Robert Peel, when the Met were first founded nearly 200 years ago, is identifying, catching and convicting criminals. That is their most basic function. And I'm afraid to say that they are not discharging that duty at the moment, as Lawrence and as Neil have said already. Now, the overall crime clear-up rate in London is shockingly low. It is only 4%. That is the lowest of any police force in England and Wales, and it means that 96% of offences do not get solved by the Metropolitan Police. Every single police force in the country does better than.
In her speech, Alex Phillips delivered a sharp and emotionally charged attack on London Mayor Sadiq Khan, using harsh and very personal language. By bluntly telling Khan to go away, Phillips didn't just disagree with his claim that Brexit was a mistake, she openly dismissed his right to even take part in the conversation. Her words went beyond simple political opposition. They were a direct rejection of his place in national debates. When Phillips asked, "What right do you have to say that?" she was openly challenging what she saw as Khan's arrogance. In her view, someone in his position had no authority to question the outcome of the Brexit referendum, a choice made directly by the British people. Her accusation that he was a petty anti-democrat marked a clear shift from debating policy to making a personal attack. Calling someone an anti-democrat is a serious charge, suggesting that Khan's actions run against the democratic values of the UK. And the word petty, meant to show smallness, was clearly used to cut him down, painting him as weak and unworthy of leadership. Her remark, "Go back to your little ridiculous woke building," was filled with contempt. By calling Khan's office ridiculous, she implied his work was pointless or absurd. The word woke, often used dismissively to mock progressive ideals, was meant to suggest Khan was out of touch with everyday people. By calling his office a little building, Phillips further tried to shrink his importance and belittle his role. Altogether, Phillips's comments showed not just disagreement with Khan's Brexit views, but open disdain for his wider political approach. Her speech was as much a personal rebuke as a political statement, clearly designed to weaken Khan's credibility and present him as unfit for serious public office.
Mr. Reynolds, I don't want to be prone to hyperbole or hysteria, but I think a lot of people this morning in Britain will be very, very worried. They will be asking themselves, is this World War III?
No, I think you're right. I think you're right to say a lot of people will be getting up now, having their breakfast, and they'll be looking at this and thinking, what does this mean? And they'll be worried, there'll be doubt around that. There's two things I would say we need to reassure them. The first is that although the United Kingdom's armed forces have not been involved in this activity, we have been preparing for some time for all eventualities. And that includes, in particular, making sure we can get British nationals out of the region, whether they're in Israel, whether they're in the Palestinian territories, whether they're in Iran, although frankly that is unlikely. And we are, first of all, with the teams we have deployed on the Jordanian and Egyptian borders, if people are travelling by land, facilitating the exit of British nationals, and we're also in talks to charter aircraft when we're able to do so to get people out of Israel. The second thing I would say is this point around the fact that Iran is a threat to the UK, is engaged in activities that are unacceptable, and whilst we're not involved in this particular set of military action, it is important to know that this is important to the UK in terms of preventing that regime possessing a nuclear capability, which frankly no one is denying or disputing. The Iranians themselves, there is no reasonable correlation between the enrichment of this level of uranium and any kind of civil or peaceful means for it.
Do you think we might have to reassess the threat level?
That is always kept under considerable review, but at the same time, you will understand why I won't go into undue details on it. But, this is an active issue. The Iranian regime's threat to the UK and activity in the UK is an active issue for our security services, something they're dealing with regularly, not something that would come about just from this added level of conflict in the region. It is something we unfortunately have to deal with on a weekly basis.
As this debate over leadership and accountability in London continues to escalate, it highlights a growing tension between political talk and real-world results. The concerns raised go far beyond party lines or ideological clashes. They touch directly on the everyday lives of citizens who are dealing with rising crime, fading trust in public institutions, and a growing sense that leaders are disconnected from the communities they serve. At the heart of the issue is a simple but vital expectation that those elected to office must not only speak about the problems of the day, but also act firmly to solve them. When people begin to feel their safety concerns or voices are being ignored, frustration quickly turns into disappointment and anger. The criticism aimed at Mayor Sadiq Khan, though sharply worded, reflects a wider public demand for accountability, real results, and leadership that puts the needs of the many above political showmanship. Whether this moment sparks real change or simply fuels more division will depend on how seriously leaders take these concerns and how actively they work to rebuild trust. One thing remains clear: people are no longer satisfied with empty promises. They want action,